Doing well. I guess first off, with the news today, how did Gio look out there?
Yeah, first of all, thought he looked healthy. We're talking about a veteran that kind of knows who he is. Curveball was good. It's just a matter of him getting some reps and fine tuning his stuff. He had some misses in there that he was aware of, and a little more on the attack early. But those are some things we'll talk about. He looked healthy though.
All right, and then a second question. This rotation is obviously it's very young, but we've seen the talent over the last couple of years. Where do you think the rotation as a whole took the biggest step last season?
Well, man, look at our key guys, and Sandy and Pablo really taking some big steps forward and trusting their stuff. We've talked a lot about that, and get out of survival mode. And we know with all young players that there's that transformation and that time that you have to allow for guys to get to that point, where they have the confidence and they belong, that they believe there, or they believe that they belong there. And both of those guys' willingness to get in the zone and get in good counts made some big strides. And they've worked hard on it. It's not that they weren't aware before, but it was a matter of trusting that process and being able to do it. And they both, had some good feedback in some games that and players need that, So it's time for them to take another step forward also.
Christina Di Nicola.
Yeah, hi, Mel. Christina with MLB.com. Nice to playing off of that, a lot of young guys I know around the league, coming off such a short season, I'm sure the workload or innings will be watched, across the board. What are some sort of the measures, I guess, the Marlins are looking into to keep these guys, arms safe over the course of 162?
Well, first of all, you have to look at their workload in the past and look at those innings if they've ever got to a point to where, they pitched a bunch of innings. And, with our young guys in their progressions, some of them are still trying to get there. So, one thing that I think we might have done different than anybody else in baseball, and anyway, I felt that way, is, we kept our young guys going. And what I mean by that, there really wasn't a shutdown period. And on that break in between spring trainings, they were on a every 5-day rotation as if they were pitching in games, doing their bullpens and facing hitters. We made sure they did that. We didn't know what was going to come, from the pandemic and how baseball was going to handle that. And I really didn't want to take a chance on those guys getting shut down. So, while it wasn't against another color uniform, they stayed on turn and they were in their routine. So we go back and when we look at that, we can count some innings there. Guys like Sixto, we're going to have to put an inning cap, on his workload. And we've sat down and we have a plan for that. I personally feel like it's important that they pitch in the month of September. So you might see some things that we do on a monthly basis to where, they skip a start, and try not to do all of that on the back end. The other thing that we don't know is, guys get hurt. Maybe they don't reach their inning totals because they're not as efficient. So we have an idea, or we think we know what that looks like and what those numbers are gonna look like at the end. And so there is some sort of planning going into it.
And that was actually you touched upon what I was going to ask. Is the goal is to have them, regardless of the inning quantity or number, that they're able to pitch through the end of the season?
No doubt. I think that's important. It's I think it's important they learn how to start and finish games. But we're going to have to be cognizant of a guy like Sixto Sanchez that throws a lot of strikes. And realistically, you could look up and this guy could have 80 pitches and going into the ninth inning. We're going to have to manage that. We're going to have to answer questions from you guys as well. When we go pull him out so that we can plan for him pitching a full season. I don't want to get down to the end and, where we have 2 or 3 guys on inning restrictions and, we have to hold those horses in the barn because we're going to need them. So it's a delicate process and it takes some planning from start to finish. But, we need to get out of the gate. We need to let these guys pitch, get their pitches up, let them settle into a routine and start to manage as the season goes on.
Daniel Alvarez.
Thank you, Danny. Hey, Mel, can you hear me good?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, thank you. So, Mel, I wanted to ask you about Alfaro and the progress you've seen from him communicating with the pitchers, because he mentioned that was one of his main goals during the offseason, to work on the communications with them and also with the coaching staff. So what are you seeing from Jorge and also the rest of your catchers?
I'm very pleased with, George stepping up and, admitting, and that's hard to do, being a young player and realizing you have some things to overcome. And we spend a lot of time in the off season with Eddie and George once a week with Zoom calls and just really going over the strengths of our pitching staff and trying to get to a point where we can understand the weapons that these guys have. And the preparation, creating a routine and a preparation and doing his work on each one of his guys so that we can make good choices in game. And the other part of that is getting in the game and between the lines and seeing things and being that leader, being that quarterback and earning those pitchers' trust. That takes time. So we've given him some good feedback, some direction. And, as I said, his willingness to work on those deficiencies, but it's going to play dividends. All the time that we spent with him, and he feels a lot more comfortable with his choices and taking control of the game. And I think you're going to see that in the pace of which, those fingers that he puts down and getting to those decisions. So that's taken some time. It's kind of like a young pitcher. They got to make mistakes. They got to go through it and they got to learn from it. So we're trying to speed that process up.
Thank you.
Jess Waylock.
Thanks, Daniel. Hey, Mel, good to see you.
Hi.
Hey, I just wanted to ask about Pablo in particular. I was talking to Donnie about his ability last year to always kind of bounce back after a tough outing. And Donnie mentioned specifically the video sessions that you and Pablo had after each start. And I was wondering what stood out to you about those sessions and Pablo's ability to absorb the information and always seem to kind of make the adjustments that he needed to make in his next outing.
Well, that the post-game reviews are something I've done for a long time. And I think the thing that I learned from those post-game reviews is what players know and what they don't know. And, Pablo's always been a bright man and he's always said the right things and he's known what he's wanted to do, but not always been capable of doing them. So the things that I found out this last year was, he sees things, he has great court awareness, but there was more of a willingness, in game to go take what he saw and to be able to attack those areas. Whereas in the past, he hasn't always believed that he could do it. And that comes with confidence and innings. I go back and I look at that game against the Braves. I don't know how many runs he gave up. And, I know there was that borderline call that could have ended the inning. And in some people's eyes, maybe things unraveled a little bit for him. But I really looked at that situation and how he handled it. He kept making pitches, stayed in the zone, and didn't get away from that. And that was a big hurdle for him. I love that game, that next game, what he did, where he came back and overcome that. In the past, a couple of years ago, it would have taken him 4 or 5 outings to overcome some of those things, and the confidence and all of that goes with being young. So look, this guy's turned a corner. And if you look back on our season, when Sandy went through the COVID, is Lopi was our guy, and he stepped up, and he had a tremendous season. He won 6 or 7 games in a shortened season, did a lot of great things. If you take that one outing out in those 8 or 9 runs that he gave up, and you took that out and go look at what he did the rest of the year, I mean, this is a guy. And he's matured a lot. He's believing in himself. His teammates are excited, when he takes the ball every 5 days, and we believe in him. And mentally, he's in a really good spot.
Craig Minervini.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, Mel. How are you? Good to see you. Can you elaborate a little further on Sandy, what you saw? You mentioned the progress that he made last year, but elaborate on that, and also how he looks in camp, and also the progression in his game from where he was a few years ago to where he is now.
Yeah, I think we've all looked at Sandy and has seen the really good stuff, and to where maybe the performance hasn't matched that stuff. And I know I made, when I first laid my eyes on him, made the bold statement and talking about guys' stuff and getting him to a point to where it becomes usable. So if you look at what he did last year, we upped his percentage of his sinkers and tried to get him to believe in his sinker and get it in the zone, his willingness to get head and counts. So, that conversation, it never went away between Sandy and I, and just trying to get him to believe in that. But I remember the last game that he pitched, I think it was in Philadelphia 2 years ago, where he threw 70-something sinkers. He went deep in the game, in and out of at bats, and I played that game for him over and over and over again in the offseason, in hoping that he could buy into that. And his walks went down last year. It's the same stuff. Walks went down, strikeouts went up, pitches per inning went down. He got deep in games. There was a lot of games that he probably still had some bullets left, that we could have left him out there, and maybe he had a chance to start and finish games, and put himself in a position by being willing to attack the strike zone and believe in that sinker. So really, we kind of keep things simple with him. And when I had Max Scherzer, all Max focused on was getting first pitch strikes. And it's something that Sandy and I have talked about, and he wants to know, the next day what his first pitch strikes were. So pay attention to that. That's something that he's focused on. And, getting guys in the swing mode so that they could swing at his other stuff, not painting himself into bad corners, and always working deep counts, trying to get back into a count. So I hope he's overcoming some of that stuff. This spring, I watched his previous springs. He's in a lot better spot with himself and really knowing where he needs to go when he gets sidetracked, and they all get sidetracked.
Steve Wine.
Hi, Mel. Where do you see the greatest potential for a big leap forward for Sixto this season?
Greatest potential? Well, I think we all saw a glimpse last year of what this guy's capable of doing. He's 22 years old. He's still got a lot to learn, and it's easy when you see him out there to forget that side. So he still has to go through, learn about the league, knowing where his adjustments are, and taking some bumps and some bruises, and seeing how he reacts to those situations. But, we all, looking at what he did last year, we all think he needs to throw more changeups. in the world of his stuff and how it plays, you know, it's easy to get enamored at somebody that throws 97 to 100 to want to lean on that fastball. But, you know, in reality, he's got one of the best changeups in baseball, making sure he uses that enough. And the, you know, the involvement, the willingness to get his other pitches in the zone, the slider and the breaking ball, and figuring out when to use those pitches and to who to use them to. So he's got a lot to learn. I look at where Sandy was 2 years ago and where Lope was. You know, this guy does some things already that maybe those other two guys didn't do. This guy's a strike thrower. So he's just got to figure out the league when they start game planning, where his adjustments are going to be. And he'll have to go through all that, trying to keep him healthy and on the field, and, you know, in turn where he can take the baseball and managing that part.
Last two. Jordan.
Yeah, hey there, Mel. Back to Pablo for a quick check. I know he's working on changing up his breaking ball a little bit. Seemed like a slur of some sorts. Can you walk us through just the changing, how that pitch is changing, and just what you're seeing from the development? And then I have a quick second one after that.
So yeah, you know, we added the cutter last year, and my whole intention and thought was to take that cutter and turn it into a slider. The reason I started with a cutter, Pablo Lopez has a little tendency to back off the throttle, and I wanted to keep some aggressiveness to that pitch with the thought of eventually turning it into a slider. We know his curveball is his last pitch. You know, if you watched the game yesterday, we added a couple miles an hour to the curveball, and we changed the shape a little bit. So we think that maybe we can keep the cutter, you know, keep the cutter in his tool belt. And we have the 4 and the 2 seam, and we know what his changeup means to him. And find a pitch that we can get on the plate, maybe use it in some early counts or some middle counts. And I don't want him to lean on it. You know, it's not a pitch that he's going to push and go finish, put guys away with. He's got other pitches to do that with hitters, but be able to get through the lineup 3 times as well. So that's taken some time. But yesterday I felt like we made some progress. Got a strikeout on his breaking ball. We've experimented with that cutter and tried turning it into the slider. You know, he got more on the side of the baseball. We found out in the bullpens that wasn't good for him. And so we went back to the curveball grip, and we've looked at analytics. I've explained to him where the hand on the baseball goes and really tried to define what we're trying to do with that pitch and not spend a whole lot of time with it either. I don't want to take away from that power changeup.
And then just quickly, I wanted to ask your initial impressions on the 2020 draft class, the pitchers that you're seeing in person for the first time, Max Meyer specifically, but the group overall.
Well, you know, I didn't get a chance to watch those guys last year. Obviously, they didn't pitch and they were at the alternate site, but, you know, I did enough homework where I watched their outings through video. But, man, McCambly, you know, Eater, Max Meyer, and there's others, you know. Those guys have some weapons, and they have some pitchability too. You know, Max made some changes with his body. I saw that he thinned out, leaned out a little bit, and all of those guys are going to have to figure out their routine. They're used to pitching once a week in college. You know, they're going through learning about the throwing program, their side days, and they'll have to make some adjustments. But I love the tools that those guys bring, you know, forward, and they all of them have plus stuff, and they're going to have to learn about the leagues and sequences of their pitches and go through all that part, because that's all part of being young, and that's what the minor league season is going to offer to them. But Max, you know, when I look at him, ex-hockey player, you know, he's wound kind of tight. He gets after his bullpens. It's one gear, you know, it's full throttle, and we're trying to implement the changeup and add a little pitchability into his package so that he doesn't do what Max Scherzer did, you know, throw a lot of pitches in a short period of time. So all those guys have some great stuff. I think our scouting department did a wonderful job, you know, in evaluating those guys. And how quick they come, I don't know. It's going to be up to the players.
Last one, Christina.
So opposite of the young guys, a lot of newcomers for the bullpen that have been around for a bit. What, I guess, has impressed you so far? Just pitches particular that might stand out? I don't know, just initial assessment of those guys.
Well, you know, most of those guys are veterans, guys that have been around and got some history. And, you know, most of them throw strikes, something we've really struggled to do in our bullpen. And if you look at it, you know, there's not a ton of swing and miss, but they're guys that come at you and they kind of know who they are. And we've really deepened, you know, the depth of our bullpen on nights that maybe, you know, Anthony Bass is going to close out a game. We feel pretty confident in knowing that Yimmy can step up and do it. You know, we've added Detweiler, who's been a strike thrower and coming off a solid season that can give you some multiple innings. We've added Simber in there that gives you a little different look, you know, that throws strikes. We know what Bleyer's going to do. Guys like, you know, Hoyt and brought over Floral, who had a nice season with the Dodgers, added Curtis late, you know, in the beginning of spring training, the end of the offseason. And he's coming off a good season and a guy that throws strikes as well. So, you know, it's a blend of some guys with some weapons that throw enough strikes. And, you know, I think that's important. In the past, we've got hurt in our middle innings. And really, we were in some games, you know, quickly it unraveled and we got out of some games. And so we're hoping that we're going to have some good options and we can keep ourselves in games, you know, where we're going to score enough runs and we're going to pitch and play defense and be able to still keep us in some games where we can win and lose them late. But, you know, that wasn't the case the last couple of years.
All right, Mel, thank you very much.
All right. Everybody have
Thank you, Mel.
Well,
Hey there, Gio. Jordan McPherson with Miami Herald. Welcome. Congratulations. First off, how did you feel out there today, and what were you throwing? How many pitches? All that fun stuff.
I felt great. You know, shoulder felt pretty damn good for getting back in the swing of things in 6 months, throwing live hitters. Other than that, I mean, I think, which is shocking to me, my best pitch today was my cutter. So that's unusual, but it was pretty cool to kind of get back out there and get the swing of things, get to face some guys. I was, you know, just getting back in the routine again.
And then secondly, I know it's been a few days since signing, but has it hit you yet that this is happening?
I'm sorry, I really broke up there. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's been about a week since the signing, but has it really hit you that this is happening for you right now?
It as soon as it signed, it really hit me. It was just more like, you know, being to represent that and being from Hialeah, Florida. I think that, you know, representing the Marlins was always, you know, any kid's dream to be from South Florida and to finally get a chance and an opportunity to, you know, put on this uniform and you find whatever you can in that tank to go out there and make sure you can pitch for them. You know, that's any kid's dream that grew up in South Florida and, you know, grew up watching the Marlins.
Christina Di Nicola.
Yeah, hi, Gio. Christina with MLB.com. Playing off of that, was there a favorite game or memory from going to probably Joe Robbie, Sun Life, whatever it was called back in the day?
I mean, yeah, I had quite a few of them. You know, I got a chance. I think one of my most memorable when I was a kid was Luis Castillo hitting a foul ball into the stands, and I was fortunate enough to get it. You know, I was trying to get his autograph after the game, and now as a guy that plays baseball, I understand why they took off pretty fast. But no, I think that's one memory I had as a kid. I remember sitting in those hot days, sweating it up under that South Florida sun, watching, you know, Dontrell, watching, you know, Josh Beckett and one of the coolest things in my career was I got to meet each one of these guys. In fact, I got to play underneath these guys as far as like, you know, playing for Craig Counsell and getting that opportunity to talk to him. I actually have his jersey signed hanging up in my house that, you know, was the coolest thing ever. I have it now to this day, like put up there on my wall. Jeff Conine, watching Jeff Conine, Mr. Marlin himself, you know, seeing all these guys facing against Gary Sheffield, you know, putting my name in the record books by helping him out getting those home runs. I've had a chance to talk to Kevin Millar. I got to see all my favorites from the pitchers: Dontrell Willis, Josh Beckett, Brad Penny, AJ Burnett. These were all the guys. Pavano, I got to see him in a golf tournament. You know, got to talk to him a little bit. And obviously, I'm huge friends with Livan Hernandez, and being an idol, Alex Fernandez obviously was, you know, close to our hearts. We still love this day. You know, Alex has come to some of my charity events, and he's been there and showed face. So it's unbelievable how much love and support you get from guys you grew up watching.
Steve Wine.
Gio, welcome. Did you ever get Louis to sign that ball?
In fact, I kind of got to a point where I didn't want to be over the top, so I just taking a picture with him or just seeing him out was more than enough for me. You know, just you know, at least I got a picture with him, and I get to, you know, relive those moments, just talking baseball with him. And he saw me a couple years back, and he was just like a kid in a candy store. Just got to talk to Louis and got to see him. You know, I got nervous too with some of the guys I had to face. You know, I had to face the guys that I grew up watching on. You know, where I saw Derek Lee. You know, big Derek Lee in Chicago. He hit a massive shot off me down the line, but hey, it's Derek Lee. You know, you don't mind giving up to guys you grew up watching. They've been doing it for a long time.
How old were you when you fetched that Louis ball, would you guess?
I would say I was around 12, maybe a little younger around that time. I know I was still probably in middle school, I think.
And what's the story on the cap today, the Hialeah on the cap?
Oh man, guys down there in South Florida that you know, they created this little brand out there, and I saw this hat and I was like, I gotta have it. You know, I have friends and family down there where they were, you know, just we had a buddy of mine kind of show me the picture of it, and I was like, I gotta have this hat. It's a company out there that, you know, I'm gonna obviously show them their love when the time comes to get them a little picture out there and let them know I love their hat. But this was a must. You know, it kind of goes together with it. You know, the Hialeah, Florida. You know, the Florida Marlins. That was the time I grew up, but now I get to represent these guys, the Miami Marlins, which I miss that fish, man. I miss that logo, that look. It was such a iconic, most memorable moment. You know, it still brings back memories when I was a kid, and you know, I love that look when Billy Marlin was just Billy Marlin. You know, he didn't have 4 or 5 colors. He had the true traditional teal and black and the white. You know, that was a kid just admiring just what the Marlins did back then was just an awe, and they still do it now. You know, I love their color. Their uniform is one of the best in baseball, in my opinion. I love their colors. It's just no matter what they do, it's pretty damn incredible.
Jess Blaylock.
Thanks, Daniel. Gio, first off, welcome home. It's awesome to have you. Awesome to have you here. Two, you know, just looking at this Marlins rotation overall, it's relatively still one of the youngest in baseball. So I'm curious, you know, are you excited about not only the opportunity to come here and pitch, but the opportunity to be a leader and maybe kind of help these young guys continue to develop in their process?
I mean, I have to say I've been fortunate in my career to see some pretty damn talented arms, and then, you know, to look at it now, it's still some pretty damn talented arms. You know, all these guys have such up potential and bright futures. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of those things that you can't miss a show. You know, one of these guys are going to probably throw a no-hitter, you know, perfect game. They have the capability of doing that kind of stuff, you know. And I think that our bullpen too has that capability of kind of keeping it, you know, in those games that we need. But as far as looking at the starters, you know, you got to give credit to their captain. You know, I think Pablo's the bread and butter. He's the horse of this rotation. you give him his place in this rotation as the captain. So for me, it's just you follow the lead, you give them as much advice as possible, and you let them go and do their thing. At the end of the day, they got here and they've been showing their stuff off, and we know what they can do. You just don't want to be interfering with any of their process unless they ask for a little help here and there. But I think Mel's going to do a great job by kind of taking the bull by the horns and letting these guys do their job. For me, it's just bring some good positive vibes in the clubhouse, let the guys have some fun, and go out there and win games as much as possible. Keep us as much in the game as possible. If obviously I have to do my part, but again, I want to do everything I can to help out.
Donovan Campbell.
What's going on, Gio? Congrats on getting back to the crib.
Thank you.
I guess I got to ask you, I know that the nostalgia is there, but I'm sure there's a part of you saying, damn, about time getting back the chance to get here. I mean, talk about that.
I'm happy. I can't go that far back, and I'm just happy I'm here. It's better late to the party than never. You know what I mean? I think that it's exciting to see that, to be here and be wanted, and talking to the front office, some of the front office people, talking to the people in the clubhouse. It's just when people light up a little bit when they see you, that's such a great impact, a positive smile. For me, I want that every time I walk into a clubhouse. And I think the Marlins, kind of with some of the guys I played with them before and played against, I think it's such a great feeling when you can walk in a clubhouse that, one, it's home, and two, the guys you play with, they're a band of brothers. You've seen them throughout their entire career, and they continue to give you that respect and status that you've obviously put your time and dues in.
Thanks.
Andy Slater.
Hey, Gio, two questions. One, when the Marlins or MLB has a throwback day, will you take the fine and go out there with that hat?
100%. 100%. If I could, I 100%. Nothing like representing where you grew up and playing in the city that you love more than ever.
And then secondly, where has the team told you that you'll be in the rotation? What do you expect?
I don't know any of that. I do know that as long as I can show my shoulders right, I can participate as much as I can throughout spring training. I got to do my job first out here. I was just happy I got a chance to throw out there, but I need a little more tune-up as far as landing some pitches and working on some stuff. So I can't think that far in advance. I wish I could, but I think for me, it's just I got to show them that I'm healthy, and then we'll go from there.
David Wilson.
Hey, Gio. First of all, welcome home. First, I was wondering, is this a situation where you kind of actively looking for a spot or an MLB team, or was it kind of Miami called? You felt like it was a good opportunity?
I don't think it was more the other way around. I don't think Miami was calling. What Miami was doing was just, checking in and seeing how I was doing. If I was, either at home kicking my feet up, or was I working and doing my job, and luckily I had a great group of people in Pinecrest Therapy with Ron, who has worked with the Marlins in the past, and his staff, Richie, Maddie, Hannah, Gabriel, all these people that were just constantly working on my shoulder, getting me right. Some of the young guys that were catching bullpens from other organizations too. So I had some kind of tryouts, and I just wanted to show teams that I was healthy and I could do my job. But, if I'm being biased by saying I really wanted the Marlins to come right away, but better late than never. And it's better than sitting at home with my feet up and just expecting a job. I'm happy the Marlins gave me an opportunity, and, I'm happy I convince them and change their mind to kind of bring me along to see how it works out.
And then you obviously know what, how baseball crazed Florida can be, South Florida can be. It's obviously a time where the Marlins made the playoffs last year, seemed like a young and up and coming team. Just how exciting is it to be here at this specific time for this organization?
Oh yeah. I mean, this this team is going to be good for many, many years. I think that if they keep their core guys and their young guys, feeling confident and healthy, I think that, this rotation is going to be a tough one to mess with, and not just the rotation, the lineup. The lineup's pretty damn scary. There's no hole in this lineup that you can kind of pitch around. You gotta face the meat of the order all the way to the pitcher. So, and be careful. Some of our pitchers can swing the bat, but I like where I'm at right now. I think that, the young guys, it's cool. The same thing happened in Milwaukee. We had some young guys that were getting their chance to an opportunity to go out there and play, and we made it to a pretty far run. And, hopefully we can change that here and make it a little further run and probably try to finish up on top, which is everyone's goal. But we like to say that's going to be part of our goal this year, obviously. And obviously Miami's huge on winning. Look at the Heat. They were there. We're waiting on the Dolphins to give us some life and some smiles and some joy. But, Panthers have done it, big Florida Panthers. Now it's time for Miami to bring something beautiful home, and the same thing. We support our cities, the University of Miami. We support all our teams, our local teams. We love you Gators and FSU from a certain distance, but don't come too close over here. We stick with our U's.
Craig,
Thanks, Gio.
Hey, Gio, good to see you in the right colors now. Got a couple questions for you. First of all, you've had a great career no matter what happens in the major leagues, probably even better than you even dreamed at as a kid in Hialeah. But do you put any pressure at all to try to keep it going, especially in your hometown? Or do you approach it with a sort of an even keel, I'll give it my best shot here, and if I'm healthy, I think things will work out? And I got one more after. I think
that's the approach you got to have. It's just like, as long as I can get on that mound, I'm going to give you the best I got. I'm always going to fight. I'm not going to, I'm not just going to call it in. I'm not going to throw in the towel. I'm still a competitor at the end of the day. I still want to compete. If I still got a little bit of fight left in this arm, I'm going to give you everything I got. I think they saw the same thing. They think that, there's potential. If not, I wouldn't be here. But if I can show them that I'm healthy and I can compete, I think that, I'm going to go in there fighting no matter what. It's just not, it's not in my nature to just take a easy ride and, hey, finish out with a bang. And for me, it's more like, I want to win. I want to fight. I want to keep going, until my arm falls off. You're not gonna get me off that mound.
And follow up, just something else I was thinking about, knowing how you were close to Jose is what Jose must be thinking about, seeing you as a Marlin potentially. I know it's emotional.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were friendly with him, obviously, but to wear that same jersey potentially I would think would mean something even special for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
To bring you in.
It'd be it'd be an honor. Dang. Let me give me a second.
Yeah.
Our memories as friends, going fishing with him, just being a part of Jay's crew. He was best friends with my brother.
All right, we got it. Thanks, Gio.
I know the city loved him, and we loved him. And it's just tragic all around, not just for Jose, but the families. It's just tragic. We lost a lot of good people, and that is one of the most emotional.
Yeah.
You still can't get over it throughout the years, but you'll always have a special place in this baseball world.
Thank you, Gio.
Thank you.
Best of luck. All right.
Yep.
All right, last one in English, Luis Zabala.
Gio, what's up? You talked about wanting to play here in Miami. In years past, guys from Miami really didn't want to play in Miami. How far has this organization come? I know it's always prideful to play in your hometown, but professionally, how far has this organization come to where guys actually now it's a destination? People want to play here.
I don't think there was a day in my mind that ever said I never wanted to play for the Marlins. I don't think there was not once. I think that even when I was coming up as a young kid out of high school, it was two things. It was two things on my mind. It was play for the University of Miami or play for the Florida Marlins. And those two things were my biggest dreams to ever do. Obviously, I can't complain. I had such great opportunities and teams that gave me opportunities to be where I'm at today to speak on these moments. You know, I will never, ever shy what the Oakland A's have done for me, the Washington Nationals have done for me, Milwaukee, and the Chicago White Sox. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those organizations that took a chance on me and gave me an opportunity to pitch baseball. But there's not a soul alive that grew up in South Florida that says that now. I can talk to all the local guys that grew up here, John Jay, Sean Rodriguez, Manny Machado. We all love this place. We all grew up loving the Marlins. We all grew up watching the Marlins. It's pointless because if you grew up in a certain city that you grew up in and you watch that team, you're always going to love that team. You're always going to have that team in your heart. You're always going to watch. I had players that I played with that had tattoos of their city, their baseball team they grew up watching. They're playing for another team and another team. So that's far-fetched. That one definitely never crossed my mind. If I had a chance to play for Marlins, it would have been an opportunity.
But in your case, you always wanted, but you heard guys because of the organization, the way they did certain things, you know what I mean? It wasn't a place, I mean, where people wanted to come. Now I'm talking about like how the organization has shifted.
I think it has. You can see that, you know, there's a little life in this clubhouse that you know you weren't seeing in the past. You know, guys were, you know, just trying to get through games and, you know, obviously through the year. So but hearing the gossip around here, it's fun, man. There's life in this clubhouse. There's joy. There's smiling. You know, you got Aguilar, you got Miggy, man. Miggy was a young guy coming up. Now he's the captain in the clubhouse. And like, these are times that you have to embrace, you have to enjoy. Like, it's like watching your little brothers grow up and becoming superstars, watching them enjoy and be the public figures as they are. You know, I got to play with Augie in Milwaukee, and look at Augie. Augie's a big bat. Coop, Anderson, you know, Dickerson, all these guys, Duvall, like great pickups. I mean, you got my buddy Ross Detweiler, who, you know, had a phenomenal year in my opinion, and he had one bad outing, and the guy was still one of the best left-handers that was doing his job last year. So these are the guys that you got to play in the clubhouse with, and you got guys that have been that played in the World Series last year. So the experience is there, the talent is there, the excitement is there. It's up to Miami whether they want to accept and bring the joy back to it. Come to the damn games. You know, you have something to look forward to now, and I'm not speaking on me. I'm speaking on this clubhouse. Come to the games. You'll see it for your own two eyeballs. You haven't seen baseball in a year. You're gonna have the fun, the most time you're ever gonna have in 3 years. It's gonna be a lot of joy this year.
Thanks, Gio.
Absolutely.
All right, let's switch over to Spanish. Daniel Alvarez.
Thank you, Danny. But I think I can continue in English because my question is a follow-up to what Gio is saying about bringing people to the stadium. And when you were pitching here with the Nationals or any other team, I mean, you brought, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 people with, you know, with you.
I think you're downing that a little bit. That's just let's go a little north on that number.
Yeah, I guess it's higher, Gio, but
a lot higher.
But just, I mean, the reaction, you know, with your family and the friends and people in Hialeah and around South Florida, you know, excited to see you here, and you know, how special is that?
It's funny, like, it was fun to play at home, but once you started seeing that your monthly paychecks were going to the Marlins program, Miami, because you had to pay for 90% of the tickets, it was to a point where like, oh, hey, you got to do something where they can buy the tickets online or something like that. I mean, but it was fun. My first year playing against the Marlins in 2012, I had over 600 tickets. In fact,
wow.
my childhood friend that used to play baseball in the backyard of my house, Willie Ruiz. He worked with you guys in the front office, but he wasn't working front office before. He was up there. I forgot where he was working. He called in and let him know that, hey, I'm best friends with Gio, and I asked for tickets. And he did something there, and the next day he was working front office with the Marlins, and he got front office with the Yankees. So something worked. Apparently, those tickets were going to all the friends and family that were out there. But I was loving the fact that anytime I came home, not just only the security guards, the fans, the welcome mat, just the flat out respect that I got from friends and family, employees in the Marlins, the visiting clubhouse, Rocco, Titi, all the young guys that worked there. It was almost like they embraced me as their son. So I would come after practice. The way they treated me, it was like royalty. I love coming here to play at home, and I love sleeping in my own bed and then waking up and go to the field. It was just so relaxing and peaceful to know that it was going to be for a couple of days, see everyone, and then go back to work.
Thank you, Gio. Suerte y gracias.
Gracias.
All right, thank you, Gio.
Guys, thank you.
Thanks so much, Gio.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Gio.
All right, guys, we'll get this posted to Marlins Press Box. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Daniel.